Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Sandy Smith, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Staff Cadet Imogen Stone. We warmly welcome the family of Lance Corporal Robert James Todd, whose story will be told shortly. We also warmly welcome the members of the Royal Military College Duntroon graduating class in attendance this evening. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, students on behalf of St Mary MacKillop College from Busselton, WA, and cadets representing 428 Squadron. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. For visitors who are able, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Lance Corporal Robert James Todd. Robert James Todd was born to George and Annie Todd in 1888 in Invermay, near Ballarat, Victoria. He was the fourth of 5 children born to the couple, 3 of whom died in childhood. Known as Bob, he attended Invermay State School before completing a 5-year apprenticeship with a carpenter in Ballarat. Todd was a member of the local militia unit, the 70th Infantry Regiment. When Britain declared war on Germany in early August 1914, he was one of the first in his district to volunteer for overseas military service in the Australian Imperial Force. He began training at Broadmeadows Camp, north of Melbourne. Already experienced as a soldier, he enlisted at the rank of Lance Corporal and joined the 8th Australian Infantry Battalion. After a very brief period of initial training at Broadmeadows, Todd and his comrades embarked in the transport ship Benalla and sailed from Melbourne in October 1914. Arriving at King George Sound in Western Australia, the ship joined 37 other Australian and New Zealand transports to form the first convoy of Anzac troops to the war. The convoy arrived in Egypt in early December, and the men travelled to the large army camps under construction outside of Cairo. The training in the desert was rigorous, and after several months, the 8th Battalion had become a cohesive fighting unit. The Australians, alongside other British Imperial forces, honed their training for the planned assault on the Gallipoli Peninsula. Before dawn on the 25th of April 1915, the Australians set out in the transport ships towards the coast at Gallipoli. Launching from the small ships in small boats, the first wave approached the beaches as dawn was breaking. The 8th Battalion was part of the second wave of boats, landing just after dawn. As the boats grounded, the men waded through the water under increasing rifle and machine gun fire. Ottoman artillery also began bombarding the beach and the gullies up which the Australians advanced. The 8th Battalion's war diary reads, "During the whole day, we were subjected to a very accurate and searching artillery fire, which inflicted considerable loss." During the initial hours of the landing, the Ottoman forces were not yet well organised, and gaps remained within their defences. Several parties of Australian troops managed to advance quite far inland on the first day. Todd was a member of one of these. As he advanced through a position known as the Daisy Patch, he was struck by shrapnel in his ankle and wounded. His comrades believed that he had returned to the beach for medical treatment, but they never saw him again. The Ottoman forces rallied and recaptured the Daisy Patch and surrounding ground. For a long time, Todd was listed as wounded and missing. His sister and mother made many inquiries of the military authorities, but without learning anything new. In September 1917, a military court of inquiry reviewed the evidence and found that Todd had been killed in action on the day of the landing. At the time of his death, Lance Corporal Todd was 27 years old. Initially, it was unclear exactly where Todd had died. After the war, his remains were discovered by British authorities and identified by his identity discs. His body was buried in Lone Pine Cemetery on the Gallipoli Peninsula, with more than 1,100 Commonwealth First World War servicemen. Lance Corporal Robert James Todd is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the side the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Corporal Robert James Todd, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.